everyone! Today we're making paper rocks with our activity kit from the library. This is a messy one, so I have my trusty mess tray here ready to work on, and I have my glue from my kit. I have my sandpaper from my kit. You have two different pieces and I will talk about those in a minute. And I have my paper. I also have a paintbrush to use to spread my glue. You can use a popsicle stick. You can use anything you'd like to spread out your glue. And I think I'm going to have enough glue left over at the end to do the last step. So I'm not going to worry about finding nail polish or Mod Podge right now, but if you want to use those at the end, you can use those. They'll make a shinier rock, which will make more sense when we're done. So our paper rocks are going to be striped, and that's a way that some real rocks are made. So some real rocks, called sedimentary rocks, are made when piles of different minerals and sand and dirt and stuff all get stacked up, and through water and a lot of pressure, which is pressing down, and a lot of time, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, all of those things kind of fuse together and they become sedimentary rocks. And sedimentary rocks are often striped. Sometime if you're driving down the highway, if you look at somewhere where they've blasted through a hill, you can kind of see those stripes going up the rocks on the side of the highway. So look out for that next time you're on a long drive. So for our rocks today, we're going to use paper as our sediment, our stones, our pebbles and sand and minerals. We're going to use glue as our water and other chemicals, and we're going to create our own pressure. So for most sedimentary rocks, the reason they have stripes is that all the different kind of minerals sort of end up together. So I'm going to sort out my paper pieces into their different colors, and the more of a color that you put in a row on your rock, the thicker your stripe will be. So if you want really thin, narrow stripes, you might only put 2 or 3 pieces of paper together. Or if you want really big, thick stripes, you might put all of the black ones together or all of the brown ones and see how big that makes your stripes. I'm gonna have a very Halloween-y kind of rock here. I like it. So I'm going to start with my black ones. I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm gonna spread glue in a thin layer on my black construction paper. And I don't have to get all the way out to the edges, but I want a good, even, thin layer. And the reason you don't want a big, thick layer is because we're gonna put so much glue on this and you want it to be able to dry. So then you take your next piece and press it down, and that's you being the pressure and the weight from the earth fusing your layers together. I'm gonna do a thin black layer on the outside for my Halloween-y kind of rock. And I'm gonna put, I think one more black one should do it. And then I'm going to put some orange on. And you can tell how that goes. So that goes on and on and on until you have a thick stack. You should use almost all of the paper in your bag. If you don't love the colors you got, you can use paper that you have in your house. Any kind of paper will work. All right, so this will need to dry probably overnight, maybe even a little bit longer. If you squeeze it, you will kind of be able to feel if it's still mushy and wet. You don't want it to still be wet for the next step. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to put our other paper aside, and I will show you my rock that I started yesterday. And as you can see, I've got my stripes of different colored paper, and I've got my paper all stacked up. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be pretty good. I'm going to close my glue because we won't need that for a while. And these stripes are my stripes of sediment, but this looks like a pile of paper still, not like a rock. This is where your sandpaper comes in. Now, your sandpaper, you'll notice that one of your pieces looks a lot like this one. It's a lot darker than the other sandpaper. It has more black bits, and it also is rougher than your other sandpaper. And this is the one you want to start with. The rougher sandpaper is going to take off more of your rock at once and kind of give you more of an opportunity to create shapes while you use it. And then your other sandpaper you'll use to kind of smooth out your edges when you're all done. So we have to make this shaped like a rock, and I've already kind of started. You can see I've got a little curve here, and I've rounded the edges, and I'm going to keep working on this one so you can see how to make the edges of your rock look like one thing that is smooth. So you take your sandpaper, you hold it down with one hand, and you take your stack of paper and you just rub it on there, and it'll get kind of dusty. If you want, you can wear your mask that you use for going to school or for going out to the store, and that will, just like that keeps you from breathing germs, that will keep you from breathing dust. And what we're mimicking here is after big sheets, oops, that's loud. After big sheets of rocks have formed, often a little piece will break off. So here's our little piece, and it will get tumbled around through gravity, or maybe it gets kicked, or maybe it ends up in the water and water kind of washes over it and knocks it around, and that will rub your stone up against sand like our sandpaper and other rocks, which are sometimes rough like our sandpaper, and even the water itself will eventually smooth out your rock and make it more make it rounded and smoothed out. So I'm going to take off these corners, I think, because I want a nice round rock. You could even, if you have some things at home, you could get a grown-up to help you, and you could use a saw or a very sharp knife. Probably you won't want to use a kitchen knife, but if you have a knife that's used for whittling wood, you can use that to kind of cut your rock into a more gem-like shape before you do your sandpaper. That's up to you. I'm doing this whole thing with sandpaper, so you don't need to cut it if that doesn't sound fun or safe to do at your house. And this takes a while. So what I've been doing while I've been sandpapering my rock is I've been listening to audiobooks on Libby. I just turn on my audiobook. Right now I'm listening to the second book in the series of Unfortunate Events, and I just listen to that while I sandpaper away. So this will take a while, and you rub and rub and rub and shape and shape and shape until your rock looks like you want it to look. So I'm going to pause the video here and go finish my rock, And when it's done, I'll show you what it looks like, and I will show you how to finish it off so that it looks nice and shiny and not like a piece of paper. I'll see you in a bit. Alright, I finished sanding. As you can see, my rock is now kind of round and it has curved edges, and I like that about it. If you wanted to make something with very flat edges, like a diamond or a gemstone, you could do that. If you wanted to keep going and make this even shorter and turn it into a circle, you could do that. Anything is possible. It's your rock. You just have to keep sandpapering it until it's the shape that you want. And you can see on the sides, you can see my stripes of the colors I use showing up. You can also see here that I have made a huge mess. My hands are messy, my rock is messy, my sandpaper and my tray are all very messy. So I'm going to clean up really quickly, and then I'll show you how to finish your rock. There we go. Now, if you have a paintbrush, one of the things you can do to clear off your rock a little bit before you paint it is, without any paint or glue or anything on the paintbrush, you can just use it to brush all that extra dust off of your rock, and that will make the colors show up better. Things will stop mixing around. It'll look cleaner and the stripes will be clearer. If you don't have a paintbrush to use for this, you can do this with a paper towel or even by blowing on your rock. I like using the paintbrush because it gets down into like all the little corners and stuff. There we go. It's a little clearer to see now. And at this point, if you want a super shiny rock, you can use clear nail polish or Mod Podge on your rock so that the outside is kind of hard and shiny. I don't have those things, but I do have a bunch of extra glue from my kit. I'm going to wipe away some of the dust that's here on my table. And I'm just going to use my glue, and just like before, I'm going to put a thin layer all around the outside of my rock. And this is what you would also do with your clear nail polish or with your Mod Podge. You just keep painting it on and painting it on. I recommend doing one side of your rock and then letting it dry so that you can flip it over and do the other side. If you do both sides at once, what's going to happen is you're going to have to hold on to the rock until it dries. Because if you put it down or drop it like I just did, you'll get glue everywhere. I'm going to have to clean that up. So there we go, we're painting it on. And this is just going to make a shiny layer on the outside of our rock. The most shiny is going to be clear nail polish. The next most shiny is going to be Mod Podge. And then the glue is going to be probably not as shiny as either of those, but it's still going to look really, really good. And when you're done with these, you can do a bunch of different things with them. You can use them as a lucky rock or a decoration. You could, if you put nail polish on it especially, that will make it waterproof. And you could paint a nice message on it before you put the nail polish on, and you can use it as a kindness rock. You can, if you make them small enough, you can take what are called cup hooks. You can get those at the hardware store, and they're little screws with a loop on the end, and you can screw that in and make this into a necklace. It is up to you. And you can see I've got nice clear stripes there. All of my sediment is showing up. Since I am holding my rock for a while, I'm going to paint the other side, even though the first one's not dry yet. Do what I say, don't do what I do. And there you have it, one paper rock. I hope you guys have a lot of fun making your own paper rocks. I hope that I've given you enough paper to make a couple rocks. I tried to give everybody enough paper to make at least 2. So I can't wait to see all of the different designs you come up with. And if you want any more books about rocks, you can always send in a bundle request and ask for books about rocks, and you can learn even more fun facts about rocks. And I will see you guys next week with another craft. Bye!